proceed.
I, Chomhendo Janina, swear in the name of the Almighty God that I will at all times well and truly serve the Republic of Uganda in the office of the Speaker of the Western Uganda Sub-National Youth Parliament, and that I will support and uphold the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda.
So, and a picture of the Chief Justice. And the Chief Guest. And then the outgoing speaker after.
The Chief Guest. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
The speaker has to be, the speaker has to work hand in hand with the clerk. We are going to take just a few minutes and allow the speaker to be in her official robes such that we come and proceed. I would like to have 2 people to volunteer and be our clerks. 2 people.
small shot. I just want to count a small one with us.
Okay, 5 people. Buri muntu okumuhereza eddakiika ibiri. So those are 10 minutes. Manya twaluganza po. So manya chumanya ngu. So is that okay? You know they can hear you.
Thank you, everyone. Volunteer to help us with your prayer.
Honorable members, can we have the House in order? Start with, I take this honor and privilege to chair this Regional Youth Parliament and extend my appreciation to all the honorable members in the House for the support that you've shown me to be in this position to chair the Regional Youth Parliament for Ankole and Kibiti region. As I said earlier, we are here to represent the views, interests, and opinions of the many young people who are back in our communities. And I encourage you that let us debate and have this issue being fully and meaningfully represented. I won't take so much time. Mine was only to appreciate you and request you that we take advantage of this space, of this platform, to represent our minds. Thank you so much. And I officially open the house. I wish you good deliberations. Thank you. Before we start our session, I want to highlight few rules that will guide us in our session. One, we need to have our phones in the silent mode. No unnecessary movements. We shall have five people discussing on a motion, and each person will take 2 minutes. So if you are called upon to discuss, please kindly use that time very well. It will only be 2 minutes per person. If you want to address a member in the house, if you want to address a member in the house, you address him or her as a honorable member. That's the procedure rule. So I think the clerk can take over from there.
Thank you. Right, Honorable Speaker. We are going to have our motions as they are on the order paper. The first motion for a resolution for youth parliament urging government to prioritize investment in climate change and youth in agriculture will be moved by Honorable Edgar Mutongisa.
Colleagues, Right Honorable Speaker, I am Edgar Mutongisa, I'm the Secretary of Uganda. I take this privilege to move the first motion. I think finance our house fire. The motion was also the youth parliament, urging government to prioritize investment in climate change and youth in agriculture.
Thank you.
Honorable members, can we have the second resolution?
The Honorable Speaker, the distinguished honorables in the House, good afternoon. My name is Letitia Hilire. I rise today wholeheartedly, second the motion moved by Honorable Mutongisa Edgar,
urging the government to prioritize investment in climate change and youth in agriculture, as we all know that it will recognize the urgent need to address the real challenges of climate change and issues in agriculture. Thank you.
Honorable members, now that the motion has been seconded, it's now open for discussion. And remember, each member takes 2 minutes. Honorable members, I have been guided that before we open the motion for discussion, we need to have a mover speak about the motion. Then after we can have it discussed upon. So the move of the motion.
Okay, Honorable Speaker, thank you so much for the on this motion. Honorable colleagues,
I'd like to draw attention to the urgency of this narrative of climate change and for the need to act on it as fast as we can. We need to understand, Right Honorable Speaker, that this motion comes at a time when our house is on fire, when the narratives of global warming are no longer hoax or tales that used just be about the future or predictions, but where the effects have been so much felt currently in all spaces, wherever you look. May I remind you, Right Honorable Speaker, of the issue of locusts we just had recently during COVID-19 period, but also for the hunger issues roaming in Karamoja. That speaks to the urgency that this is not just a problem we do envision, it's a problem already happening. That said, Right Honorable Speaker, I think it's important to understand also that agriculture, which accounts for 40% of our GDP, employs 80% of our labor force, and supplies 85% of our exports, is a very big sector that we all take seriously because it so much aligns with our ambitions as regards to our vision of 2040, but most importantly, with our vision as enlightened with our National Development Plan 3, which is supposed to run for financial years 2020-2021 to financial year 2024-2025, of where we have to have this important goal to raise our income per capita by more than $1,301 US. However, Right Honorable Speaker, Uganda, as much as has already demonstrated how we've been so much at great risk, as already the few instances which I've already described, not to mention the instances which are just next to us, with River Rizi, depletion and all that, is that we still have so much a system which is not so much guarded, because the people and the agriculture we have is so much reliant on just the few rich water sources we have that are given to us by nature. So there is no much need of artificial mechanisms that would protect us from the shocks of environmental issues. We therefore think, Honorable Speaker, that it is important that we have that you note the increased efforts within the agricultural sector, maintaining focus on climate smart approaches, as well as growth, while increasingly involving and tasking the government, where they potentially contribute an important breakthrough in transformation of the sector. I also like, before I conclude, to note that we think it's very important for this motion that we have access to finance to be a very critical factor of consideration. And this is in light of the fact that it is the major factor, especially for the young people, given that the young people do understand the urgency. They're not necessarily naive about it, but their actions require some level of funds and money, and the current mechanisms of financing we have are so much bureaucratic that, and some are so much silent, even when they claim they have the spirit to support more young people. And the case and example we have here is the current Paris development model, which has had a lot of issues, and we've had even the National Youth Council complain about the 30% quota, which was very ambiguous, and there's no clear mechanisms of accountability on how we'll ensure that indeed the young people, who are the biggest stakeholders, get to have a share of that 30% allocated to them. Given these many issues we have in climate financing, and yet given its importance in this ambitions realization, I think it's very important.
It's very important to note in this motion.
And it is
therefore with grounds that Honourable Speaker, I do argue the government of Uganda viewed a financial spectrum that will enable young and youth entrepreneurs access to grants for education. And to be very clear here, thank all the brokers that have so far hindered the emancipation of those young people. It is with this background that I'd like to again say that we are able to move the motion for the resolution of this
so that we can argue the government prioritize investment in climate change and youth in agriculture. Thank you so much.
The motion is now open for discussion. Just like I said, we'll have 5 people and each person will take 2 minutes. So let's try to keep time.
We already have members. By show of hands. Yes, Honorable Linus.
Thank you so much, right
Speaker and honorable members. Here on this motion that has been moved by our right honorable member, Mr. Edgar. And on this particular
I'm going to speak. I think I can leave the microphone because I hope I'm audible enough. I'm going to speak from
I'm going to speak
from a peasant
background
as we all know that agriculture is the backbone of this nation, and it has been of great importance to us, especially who are coming from peasant backgrounds. I happened to write a certain blog about environment, and it was taken up by some people and posted somewhere, and this was my environment and my life, and it was basically using my legal knowledge to transform the environment. But then it so happened that in most of the time as youth, we don't have the spaces where we can utter out
what we think can be done. I mean in terms of awareness. So here, my point is, when we are given platforms as youth, we can do awareness.
And I
believe these people are ready
to welcome us. And environment is not destroyed by other people other than us. Other people are the grassroots, I mean the people we are leading. Meaning when we have the information with us, and when we are able to share with such information to these people, it can be of great importance. And going on to agriculture, I happen to be part of a certain organization, and we are having a poultry house, and we are basically dealing with poultry. And we have faced challenges as youth. As the Right Honorable Speaker has mentioned, we have limited access to finance. when the PDM came, we thought it was a chance to us. We thought it would help us somehow, but then it came into our minds that the bureaucracies that are in there cannot help us the way we expected. They wanted approval from parents. Parents are also struggling to get, to be in for PDM as themselves, but then we have also to, have that kind of bureaucracies that have limited access to those finances, and which I believe they can support us as youth who are actually in agriculture. And even the policies themselves, I happened to read the Food and Nutrition Policy of 2003. And when you read that policy, it's basically have an inclusion of agriculture. Of course, it's the agriculture that's supporting a kind of a policy. But then it so happens that people are not all that, the youth are not much into agriculture, because we believe agriculture is a dirty job and the government is doing nothing to improve on that. I think if they bring the awareness, if they put the incentives and mechanisms that can make agriculture so attractive to youth, and actually we can believe that in case of moving abroad, as our guest speaker has said, instead of having mechanism at home which can save those souls that are going abroad, it could be the best opportunity for us people. And we are ready to embrace such policies, but the problem is that we lack awareness. And the policies that are in place, their implementation is not all that good and not all effective when it comes to youth. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Do we have other members? Yes, the Honorable Member. Adonia.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. Protocol still observed. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I want to be very brief and be categorical on this motion. I want to thank the Honorable Member that brought up this motion. And I would love to think that if Uganda as a country and having our leaders, the cabinet, the government, as our leaders and actually the future we think we are looking at, if we don't embrace the power and energy of the youth, then it means that we are not headed anywhere. I want to believe that over 78% of this country's population are the youth. And I want to picture a scenario if these youth are actually made responsible and accountable of the things that are running in this country. In particular, I want to base on agriculture, I want to base on climate change. We are looking at PDM. We are looking at the small businesses that the youth are starting on and bringing on board, because look, the only thing I can afford is buying my chicken. The only thing I can afford is starting up an agriculture farm and buying my cows and goats. But look at the tax policy that are on these businesses that the youth are starting. We are looking at the tax holidays that are being given by the whites, that are being given by, for example, the external investors. What if these tax policies, let's say tax holidays and tax incentives, are given to the youth that we have? Don't you think that we shall be encouraging more youth to engage in these business orientations, to engage in climate change programs, that at the end of the day, we shall achieve the dream that Uganda actually wants by 2030? I'm looking at a country where the youth are trusted, that, for example, the PDM is down to the ground. Can the youth leaders follow up to the level that the youth can make use of these grounds? You cannot tell me that you're going to supply seedlings, for example, beans, for example, maize, to a hungry society, and you instruct them to plant. Of what importance, yet they are hungry? Don't you think they are going to prepare that for supper? Don't you think that actually they are going to prepare those seedlings? Now a meal has come for tomorrow. Don't you think it is what they're going to use for? Now, this is what the government needs to do, that they empower the youth. They train the youth structures from top to bottom, from bottom to top, that they can be responsible of these government programs. Yes, I respect the fact that the army can be in charge, take charge of NADS, take charge of such programs, and will have less corruption, but implementation will be less realized. Take, for instance, what if we give the youth a chance and say we are giving them, every youth that is starting on a business, agriculture-oriented, 2 years tax holiday, free. You're not paying taxes for 2 years. When you stabilize, we start charging you tax. Do you think that more youth will be encouraged to actually begin more business because they'll be realizing that dream and earning on the same? Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. I submit.
Thank you, Honorable Member.
I still remind you that you have 2 minutes, so when you take the floor, kindly utilize the 2 minutes. We have the Honorable Member before seated at the back. Later we'll have the Honorable Member from this side and the other side. Then
we shall proceed from there.
Thanks for your motion. Government is prioritizing investment in climate change and its agriculture. But also it is important for us to know, honorable members, that
agriculture is crisis. Climate change is a crisis. You see, climate injustice is human justice. And if we cannot appreciate that it is human injustice, then we are doomed to perish. There are a lot of challenges that are coming up due to climate change. That is done. Some of these are wars, displacement of people, unavoidable deaths, and these are things that we cannot overlook. These are things that we cannot oversee if the government doesn't take critical actions on these things. Then we are going into a more deep trouble. And on an issue of agriculture, it is very important that when government projects come up, we appreciate them. But also there is a problem that most of the projects that are coming up are not being appreciated, neither are they being known. I don't know whether it is because they're not being marketed properly, Right Honorable Speaker, or they're not being advertised, or the people supposed to implement them are not serious. But there are projects that have
come up with the SCDP, that is Agriculture Cluster Development Project, the Parish Development Model, the Agriculture Project Facility through Bank of Uganda, and these are all projects that are supporting agriculture. But how many know them? And those who know them, how many can access them? And those who can access them, how many can get them? Those are all different things and all different questions to tackle. Because they all need answers. If you go to the bank for an agriculture project facility loan, this requires, this pays 10% annual interest. This is something everyone can afford. But what does it take you to get it? If you reach there, the bank will give you its own loan. Then when you talk about the SDF, no one will hear about it. So Right Honorable Speaker will propose that when these projects come up, there are people put on the ground, and the people to be put on the ground are supposed to be the youth. You see, the youth is seen like a young child, but these are the stakeholders or the pillars of the nation.
And if the pillar starts shaking, then the whole building might fall. I don't know whether we get this point. So it is very important that we appreciate when these projects come, and if they come, still the government, Right Honorable Speaker, should be very serious and take critical follow-up so that we know whether they were implemented and whether they affected the people they were supposed to affect. Previously, I happened to participate in SCDP and realized that the people benefiting are the already rich people. And these are projects that World Bank is investing in money so that they should help the common person, the common farmer. So by the time the common farmer gets the inputs, They're already exhausted with waiting, yet money was released earlier before, and the big men took this money. So, Right Honorable Speaker, I propose that these projects be followed up so that they can be provided with real accountability and with the right information from the ground. Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member, for the recommendations that you highlighted. And a member from here. As you take the floor, kindly introduce yourself. And 2 minutes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
My name is
Emmanuel Sibu.
I
I get agitated when I hear people speak about agriculture. As someone who is
an agriculture practitioner and also who trained in agriculture, because these things need to be delved into in their totality. When someone speaks of parish development model, this is a government program that is intended to push the 39% of Ugandans that are not in the money economy. That's why they are saying that a household should not get more than 1 million. And they already said that they have a poultry unit that they thought they would benefit from the parish development model. An implication that either people supposed to explain government programs or the youth themselves don't read these policies to understand what's the target population. Because parish development model is not targeting this one. They are targeting another youth. I've always told people in many forums that this program is supposed to target
those people you see moving in town with baskets of eggs, pineapples. Those small people struggling. Not these people that can be able to put up
a unit. That's completely very wrong. Secondly, the youth have failed to understand that agriculture is a profession. Someone like my friend does education, physics, math. When you fail to get a job there, you think you can drop yourself in agriculture. Please, first appreciate that agriculture is a profession. Just because personally, I loved to be a medical doctor. When I failed chemistry, I realized that I cannot be. However much I have interest in the profession. But I don't think that I can move to Mbarara Regional Hospital and inject the medicine to a patient because I have not trained in it. So before you delve into the agriculture, please first get trained there so that you get the basics of the agriculture. Because, and I want to end with this, Madam Speaker, 1995, Uganda was producing 5 million bags of coffee annually. And by then, the population was not more than 20 million people. Today, we are about 40-something million people. And we are only producing 7 million bags of coffee. And the projection, they are saying that in 20 years to come, we will be able to produce 20 million bags of coffee. An implication that 15 million people were able to produce 5 million bags of coffee. But today, the 49 million people have only contributed 2 million bags of coffee. We have so many people there, but what they are producing is completely minimal. You are inviting so many people to join agriculture, but what is their contribution? You have farmers, someone says, I am a farmer. But when you say, let's go to your farm, he's completely doing nothing. Our contribution is negligible because we have not understood that agriculture is a profession like any other professions. Please, and I want to urge members that as we are urging government, you're welcome.
Hold on. It's not yet. It's a procedure that the honorable member taking the floor shouldn't be the person to allow the information from the house.
You're literally taking over my role as a speaker. So, allow me, Honorable Member.
Thank you so much. Allow me to comment the current speaker that is it so much Sankara? He quoted. I am my passion to content. So it's not about being a professional or being in agriculture. Everyone can do agriculture as long as the passion is about agriculture. Right, Honorable Speaker, allow me also to inform you that it's not that all honorable members.
You are informing the
Speaker or member.
I want to correct him so that he knows the direction is taking us. It's not that every member of parliament who is at parliament has gathered. They are all lawmakers and policy makers, but they are not all lawyers. So we are entitled to every information and use it effectively as long as they can read about agriculture and implement it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Tomorrow I will go to court and argue cases because I have passion to do law. So if it is that direction, I think we'll be able tomorrow, another person will go to the hospital because he just has a passion to be a medical doctor and give medicine. And I think that's where you want to take the population. Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. The government
finally,
I think
should invest heavily, and this should have been done yesterday to protect the environment. As I'm one of the friends of and says that we either agree to live as
or perish as fools. If you don't protect the environment, we'll die as fools, all of us. If we protect the environment, I've seen people just litter everything and they don't care. This one is a conscious issue. This one is a threat. It is a threat to our health. It is a threat to our living. If we don't protect this environment, because I am told people that live in the city now, want to get water at 3 a.m. during the night. We can't have water during the day. Someone who is watering tomatoes, who is doing urban farming, where are we getting water? We are paying hundreds and hundreds of shillings on a daily basis for border people to collect us water to give to our animals, to give to our poultry. Please. And simply because the water levels of rivers
have gone down. And you know what they are doing? People are just here in town speaking about the most useless things. And even to the higher levels, to the national parliament,
we have so many people gathered in the room talk about the most useless things in the world. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. The Right Honorable Speaker, sorry.
Honorable Member, pertinent issues have been raised. A lot of recommendations have been raised, and I believe this will give us a sense of direction in addressing the challenges, especially in agriculture and our involvement as young people.
We have a member on my right.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Madam Speaker and the colleagues. To me, I think
as a person engaging in agriculture, I'm called to Mnamia 2 minutes might not be enough. Specifically, if you see the 80% of people depending on agriculture, though I will use them as a command.
Member, you're not the one setting the rules of this house. So
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Now, my approach is very different. As I was seated there, among the 8 crops that Uganda depend on is tea. I'm a tea farmer. Currently, when you go to Impanga, for example, the green leaf price has reduced from 550 to 220, and you are telling a youth of 30 years now to engage in tea. When you look at the costs of living vis-a-vis the prices of agriculture products, you wonder where the agriculture people are going. My approach is simple. We need to be protected. We need to have the policies that are intended to protect the tea, not only even the tea, or the agriculture sectors. Members who are dealing in diary will actually agree with me. Have you ever asked yourself why sometimes a liter of milk is just 1,000? Even a half liter of water itself is 1,000. And when you look at the cost of producing the two, you can't imagine. To me, my approach is one. We need to invest in research of how to market products. If you go to Kenya, right now, you look at how they are selling their maize, their tea, they are far from us. When the international market is low, what they do, the government buys and stores and it sells when the market is up. I can see the colleagues here who deal in poultry like me. When the foods are closed, we suffer with the birds, but the cost of living is high. When you consider the recent budget, my dear colleagues, tighten your belts. Things are becoming more difficult to us. As I know now, like most of the commodities here, I may say that on a lower cost, even water has increased the price. Everything has been increased. But look at agriculture, nothing you can increase because the market is just open as it is. Thank you, Madam Speaker and colleagues. I will add on next time. Thank you.
Honorable member, I'm going to allow one person who is seated at the extreme end. Honorable, as the last honorable member speak about this point.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. Good afternoon, fellow youth. Many information. The government of Uganda came up with an innovation called the Uganda Agriculture Insurance Scheme that provides insurance to farmers, both livestock and crop. So what they do is they, climate change, as the motion we are discussing about, has issues with drought, excessive rainfall, floods, hailstorms, frost. So the government of Uganda came up with the Agro Consortium as an innovation to mitigate risks in the agriculture. So they have, the Agro Consortium has regional offices, and our offices are here, and I work with Agro Consortium. So we insure farmers against risks, drought, excessive rainfall, even actually if, let's say, a veterinary doctor has done surgical operations on your animal and it has died, we can also compensate you. So the rates are very small. In a nutshell, you pay 5% as a policy that you take, and once you suffer loss, they compensate you. So in case you want more information, you can come and reach us at our offices here, and then you be able to learn more and then mitigate the risks faced in agriculture. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Member. We are actually running out of time. So allow me to call the mover of the motion to make his prayer, and then later we put it to vote.
All right, Mr. Speaker. there are many concerns which definitely did come up, and a lot of concessions on how we're the majority, and we do have so much to contribute, but also on how the environment question is very important, and so we ought to definitely consider it. So, though there have also been some reservations around agriculture and who ought to participate in it, and though that not so much resolved, but I think, Honorable Speaker, will pray to this House that the government does indeed have structural reforms that get to have the youth participate along the whole value chain of agriculture, but also ensuring that agriculture is one that is smart and sustainable. We also do pray that the government does get to deliberately attend to the concern of poverty, as many people here did demonstrate that indeed it is a very big, important underlying factor that does so much sabotage any sort of efforts around making this sector better. Lastly, we do pray that this House, government does consider indeed consistent and routine monitoring and evaluation of all these projects. And this was a concern regards to the fact that there are very many funds that always come up and never work, and then we get to have like a cycled version of those funds preceding years. So same problems get to continue happening even with different strategy and different funds. All that is in the spirit of ensuring sustainability of these projects. With those three prayers, Honorable Speaker, it's been a pleasure to indeed, and I ask the House to vote on this motion to indeed have the government prioritize investment in climate change and youth in agriculture. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member, the move of the motion. So at this time we put the motion on vote. Those in favor say aye, and those who are not say nay. We get it? I repeat.
We are going to put the motion on vote. Those in favor say aye. Those who are not in favor say nay. The ayes have it.
Right, Honorable Speaker, the second
Motion on our order paper, a motion of the Western Youth Parliament, urging government to prioritize service delivery with an emphasis on education and health, will be moved by Honorable Patrick Joe.
Right, Honorable Speaker, honorable members, organizers, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. Right, Honorable Speaker, allow me to table my motion of Western Youth Parliament urging government to prioritize service delivery with an emphasis on education and health. Madam Speaker, the government of Uganda is mandated to mobilize resources to finance the budget so as to achieve improved service delivery, stimulate economic activity and development. Service delivery is improved. Service delivery is a mechanism used by the organization to meet the needs and aspirations of the people it is meant to serve. Madam Speaker, the delivery of service in Uganda is bedrocked under decentralization policy, which guided by the Constitution, Local Government Act, the Decentralization Policy Strategy Framework, the Physical Decentralization Strategy, Local Government Sector Strategic Plan, the Public Sector Management Strategic Investment Plan, and the National Development Plan. Madam Speaker, the tax burden on Ugandans keeps increasing every other passing day, and one would expect better services that are meant to be facilitated by the taxes collected. Instead, Ugandans have had to grapple with poor roads, shadow public buildings, insufficient drugs in hospitals, and very high prices of commodities because of high cost of transporting them on poor roads. The public servants who are meant to supervise road constructions rarely have the time and will to execute their duties. Madam Speaker, despite the government efforts to improve service delivery across the country, there seems to be different perspective in regards to education and health. The reputation symbolizes most public schools and government hospitals. Drugs are scarce or never available. Doctors and medical officers are insufficient, and in some health facilities, many Ugandans have to first bribe to get hold of a doctor. Most health facilities and schools are stretched beyond capacity because of population influx surpasses their original plan. Madam Speaker, I beg to move this motion to be adopted and be discussed.
Can we have the honorable members second the motion? Second the motion.
Honorable colleagues and right honorable Speaker, I'm called Abdul Peter, and I'm here to second motion of the Western Youth Parliament urging government to prioritize service delivery with an emphasis on education and health. We are all aware that without health, without services,
especially good roads, our rest of activities can't move well. Therefore, Right Honorable Speaker, allow me to second this motion for honorable members to debate about it. I thank you.
We can now have the move of the motion speak about it.
Right Honorable Speaker, thanks for this opportunity. Right Honorable Speaker, it is true the government of Uganda is mandated to mobilize resources to finance its budget. Right Honorable Speaker, it is true the delivery of service in Uganda is bedlocked under decentralization. Right Honorable Speaker, I happen to be one of the members of the City Council, and allow me to briefly project to you how the service delivery is being bedlocked under decentralization. Right Honorable Speaker, Mbarara City in this financial year, the new one, according to its IPFs, it received amount worth of 3.8 billion in the sector of health. And all that amount, over 80%, that is almost around 91%, is all about government transfers. And local revenue is all about 8.17%. And implementation is always around 80% from the government transfers, then 20% from the local revenue. Madam Speaker, at the national level, in the Department of Health, the referral system, it is true, have been enhanced. Construction of health systems and the centers have been equipped. Upgrading of health centers have also been funded under the co-funding of World Bank and Uganda Intergovernment Mental Physical Transfer Programs. Madam Speaker, still also in the Department of Education, in Mbarara City, it is the largest department that received the amount from the government. It is over 15.4 billion, and 99% of it is from the center. 1%, almost even 1% doesn't reach, is via from the local revenue. At the national level, Madam Speaker, it is true, Uganda has registered a progress in access to education. Madam Speaker, Uganda's literacy rate improved from 70.2 in 2012 to 79% in 2021, and enrollment in public schools have partly increased, 8.8 million in primary schools, 833,000 in secondary, 174,000 in tertiary. Madam Speaker, if you see that streamline, there is a loophole from 88.8 million now to 833,000 in secondary. You may ask now, what is the difference? Where has that difference gone? Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, even from the secondary, from 833,000 to 174,000 now in tertiary. And those ones, Madam Speaker, are for public institutions, not private. Now you still ask yourself, almost over 60%, where do those people go? Madam Speaker, it is true, the community have a perception which is negative, I can call it, but which is the reality. Madam Speaker, it is true, if I can refer to you very well, and I record it, the term that we are in of 2021 to 2026 is termed as a Chisanja for Socio-Economic Transformation. And if I quote very well His Excellency during opening remarks of the Parliament that we are in of 11th, on 24th May 2021, he quoted, "Now that we have laid a foundation by building roads, hospitals, schools, water sources, and other public services, the focus should be turned to creating wealth, jobs, and incomes." That's, Madam Speaker, I come in to move a motion that really government should prioritize service delivery with the emphasis on education and health. Since now the slogan of the Parliament at the national level is focusing on creating jobs, on incomes, and even turning the wealth. But there is no emphasis on health and education. More money have been channeled to PDM. But how will the PDM person get the money when his health status is low? Where will the PDM person move a step at the household when his education level is not sufficient? Madam Speaker, with those few, allow me to allow the honorable members to submit on that.
Thank you, honorable member.
Now we
can have open
or the debate on this motion. And strictly 5 people. So now that it has been opened, raise your arm if you feel you have an information or something that you have to say about this. Raise your arm. You have to be 5 people and you have to use 2 minutes. Where are the members who want to speak? 1, 2, 5. I will start with Honorable Charity.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. My name is Charita Kawamami, and I used to be involved. It's unfortunate that young people, every time they stand up, they start calling the government. The question here is, who is the government? It's also imperative that young people, whenever they are speaking, they let us understand the meaning of what they ask. If it is education, what is education? If it is health, what is health? I realize in the early years we have hospitals, but our fathers lived. What did they take up as health? What was their definition of health? Education. We realize we have the education policy, which has UPE, USE, and its major aim was to help young people get them basic education. Are you able to speak? Are you able to read? And I think most Ugandans currently do. What have we as young people taken use of such advantages if we see young people being able to read now? being able to speak now. Even if they don't speak in English, English is not my mother language. Most of us speak Ruchiga and some of us speak Runyankole. Can you converse with your brother in Runyankole? And you understand that to create a COVID-19 vaccine, you have to get Hzera and mix it with Omuvirizi and let COVID go. Members, we shouldn't complain before the government every day. Yes.
Order around.
That, what is the meaning? Because settling for less is relative.
Order, honorable member, they are already putting in order and you're still discussing. Before you respond to the order raised, I believe it's not in order because as citizens of this nation, we pay taxes. Taxes that we pay, they're supposed to come to us in a return of service delivery. So if we feel that we are not getting the services that we should get, so that means we blame the government. But you can take on and explain more.
Right?
Not allowed.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, for protecting me. I am a Ugandan. Thank you so much. I continue to urge us that we should think twice. One, we cannot complain that our education system is not working, therefore we're not having education. Informal education is part of education. If we complain of creating awareness, who told you in the morning that River Gwiz is not flowing? You all know that. What are we doing about it? As young people, we need to help the government in implementation of these policies. If you wake up and your sister does not go to school, and the school is nearby you, we're supposed to have a school in every sub-county. If every sub-county has a secondary school, and your cousin brother does not go to school, as young people, what are you doing about it? You need to do something. Let's wake up. Let's not keep speaking and having microphones saying, government, we are the government of Uganda. Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Member. You can also bear in mind that when you're presenting your issue, you can as well as give us the possible solutions, the challenges that we can build on. I had counted 5 members. And among the 5, there was Honorable Tueta. You can take the floor.
Honorable colleagues and Right Honorable Speaker, once again I'm Abdul Wahab Ateta, and I have few comments or clarifications. One is about education briefly.
I would like to inform my honorable colleagues that when we talk about education, let's define education in terms of formal and informal. Let's look at the education, including even our brothers and sisters who did not get a chance to go to school, but they are very innovative. Let us look at the education that will bring our champions who are able at creating motorcycles using, they used to say magezi g'Abaganda, but this time we say magezi g'Abanyankole for the case of Westerners. So, Right Honorable Speaker, most youth who are innovative, they are not being supported. We have many youth, even here in Greater Mbarara, who have been doing well, but when they are referred to Ministry of Science and Technology to be facilitated, they are not facilitated. They keep on compiling proposals. I have like 3 evidences whatever there in Ministry of Science and Technology, looking for pledges, of which when His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni is passing through, usually make recommendations. But the line ministry not taking implementations of what is supposed to be done. Therefore, Right Honorable Speaker and my dear colleagues, I want to say that our NRM government has done very well with most of formal education. I thank the NRM for that. We have more schools and primary education. With secondary education, it is free. We agree with that. But with this side of for informal, it is not being tackled. And again, on part of education, Right Honorable Speaker, we look at awareness as also a form of education. Publicity. Our honorable colleagues here, they have been saying that they are not aware of how PDM works, most of them, and even other areas of government interventions. As youth, we are not informed and we are not about it. Meaning, the publicity of it is not enough for youth to understand and take action. On part of health, Right Honorable Speaker, with health, we have been challenged with JBV. More youth, ranging 18 to 35 years, majorly married girls, the teenagers, leave them, but look at the adults, but under still youth age, they are being the culprits, they are victims of JBV. Most of them, they are wounded. Most of them, they are sexually harassed, and they end up coming up with some scars and so on, which you may be knowing, my dear honorable members. So, we have not seen the government of Uganda taking the strange actions that can warn our fellow partners or intimates to take actions which are appropriate in safeguarding our fellow youth. We need this urban setting. Most single mothers, they are in a range of 18 to 34, 35 years. They are still under our youth. So, Honorable Speaker, I feel it should be our mandate as youth, protect our fellow youth who are newly in marriage, but they need to be guided and protected. I beg to submit. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. You talked about innovation, and the beauty part of it is that we are having this parliament at Innovation Village, where they make ideas happen. So I think we are already in the right place.
The innovations that you're talking about, with a collective effort, will make them happen. Who was the third member? And let us be guided. If you have spoken already, give a chance to another honorable member. I feel like we all want to speak, but I will be selective. I will use my powers now as a speaker. Select those who have not spoken. Honorable Awa.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. This topic is very special to me. That's why I had to stand up. Because when we hear Uganda relating that, you see informal education, the government has built health centers, I really do not understand. Uganda is signatory to many regional and international instruments. that we must pay attention to. That in where we are advocating for better service delivery, we must pay attention to some of those international and regional instruments. When we are talking about health, we need to refer to the Abuja Declaration of 2001. The Abuja Declaration emphasizes, is asking every country to spend about 15% of the national budget on health. What? Granted. You're informing me. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Since the speaker has declined, we shall proceed. But the point I was trying to make is that the Abuja Declaration that the government of Uganda is signatory to requires us to spend about 15% of our national budget. At the moment, the government of Uganda is spending 8.5% of our national budget on health. What does this mean? That's why when the move of the motion was talking about the aspect of service delivery, was clear on the issue of decentralization. The issue of decentralization is the aspect of equipping and making our local governments strong. How much money is invested in our local government structures? How much money? Are our local government structures strong enough to be able to make sure that these services can reach the people? Me who comes from Bushenyi, deep down in Nyabubare sub-county, my grandmother cannot access even Panado. Last year, we had a national drug, remember when drugs were not in hospitals, in health centers, for 2 months. It was a matter that was brought in the house. So are you telling us to settle for less simply because we are seeing structures that we become comfortable when there are no drugs? Is that in order really? No. As Ugandans who are paying taxes, we need to demand for more. These drugs should not at any time not be there. They need to be there at every time because this is a right that we are entitled to. Much as the Constitution of Uganda is not explicit on the right to health, but Uganda is a signatory to regional and international instruments that we must adhere to. On education, I'm summarizing. The other point is, let's talk about medical interns. When we are speaking about some of these things, you think maybe we are against the government. I have been raised. My school fees paid for by the government of Uganda, NRM government. But when you talk about medical interns, what is happening? Are you aware that we have a crisis at the moment in our health centers? Which the Ministry of Health has. Instead, they are putting their priority to DNA instead of addressing a press conference on medical interns. Is that a priority that we should be talking about? Do you know how much crisis is there for, because people cannot easily be attended to because there are no medical interns in our health centers? These are things that we are talking about. Government of Uganda to look at the issue of medical interns as a priority. It's not a luxury. Whereas some of us can afford to go where? In Kampala. Other people, when you reach there, they cannot even access the list because these medical interns are not there to attend to them. How are we not talking about the issue of corruption? This is an issue that is in the local government structures. Is our government deliberate on fighting corruption? This is why we are saying government needs to prioritize service delivery. That is to that point. Because the moment, if we cannot eradicate corruption in the local government structures, where people, for them to be able to access medical facilities, they will only have to first bribe. The president has been here talking about aspect of education. How our masters in schools are asking for a lot of, this is a point of corruption that we are talking about. And as young people, these are things that we need to be passionate about and looking at, not just throwing, soil. And it is another point that I would like to say that it is very important that the government of Uganda strengthens that decentralization policy and implements it to the core. If our people on the grassroots are to get services. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
The hands have reduced. Some of you have already spoken. I will pick the honorable member seated in front, then later we'll have Honorable Sankara at the back.
Honorable members, Honorable Speaker, thank you very much for this. I'm glad to be here, but I'm not happy with this government of Uganda. I'm called Nwasasira Elijah, a youth leader and a journalist by profession. So, what I was trying to say, I'm not happy with this government of Uganda because of the following reasons that I'm going to air out. One, I'm seeing here that this government should prioritize service delivery with emphasis on education and health, 100% correct. I'm going to give you an example. Me, I always move around the country. I was once in Isinyo district. Someone told me that she went at a certain facility. She wanted help from a medical worker. But unfortunately, she found the medical worker in the garden and requested her to go for help. What made matters worse, that very health worker told that lady to first wait abokuba kariho nahinga ngo abanza heze kuhinga then aze attendinga. That means concerning with health in Uganda ebintu tubyangu ibantu. Next, when we go to education, abashomesa nebazokwe namanya ngo ari payroll at the end of the month naza kuza banka yiho sente. So tarikuija kutega tukuja kumuteka haninga yokuza omukilasi okushomesa omwana. I heard that they introduced the system yokukwata abashomesa n'abakuru b'amashomero abatakwije. Hina imagine bro. Is it working? Where exactly? Kazo. And Mutoma. Me, I'm from Rwampara, but unfortunately, I've not yet seen a such thing in my district, however much it's new. Then another thing, I've heard someone saying that government, that we are the ones, when we meet a government, to me, government is a group of people entrusted with power to rule or govern others. Are you entrusted with power, madam? Hey. So you should be in position to do the needful as far. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. So you should be in position to prioritize service delivery as far as health and education is concerned. That's what I had for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Thank you, Honorable Member.
I like the fact that you've spoken your mind, regardless of the language that you've used. The message has been passed on.
We are going to have Sankara. Yes. Honorable Sankara. And kindly keep order. In a very few minutes, I will be suspending some of the honorable members, not sparing Honorable Charity.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable members, I'm called Sankara Gavanga, made by streets of Uganda,
but also educated, and also lives under dilapidated state of our healthcare systems. Nonetheless, Right Honorable Speaker, education indeed plays a fundamental role in empowering individuals, fostering social mobility, but also driving economic growth. However, Right Honorable Speaker, we cannot overlook the dilapidated state of many public schools in this region and indeed in other regions of the country. Right Honorable Speaker, furthermore, the shortage of qualified teachers in the sense of government, even actually when we know that the reality is we have these teachers here, but most of them are on the buses running to Kigali, and some of them are drowning in the ocean, getting to the international scenes to work as maids in the Arab areas. Right Honorable Speaker, while the government states and also the president of this nation emphasizes science teachers, I want to assure you that the drivers of the country are still those that we regard as arts teachers. Now, Right Honorable Speaker, as a result, young people continue to be on the round table with politicians, with business leaders, not as those, giving out their views, but to be shared among these influential figures, specifically for their own goods. Right Honorable Speaker, I thus call upon my government to prioritize the following actions. May the government that we applaud very much allocate increased resources to the education sector, specifically directed towards infrastructure development within schools, but also provide the 21st century learning materials and equipment. Right Honorable Speaker, we are talking about ICT and making sure that facilities like, or utilities like electricity, we are talking about supply of internet in the schools, is actually prioritized. Right Honorable Speaker, I also speak to the First Lady of the country, the wife of our beloved Muzei, the President, to please look at strengthening monitoring and evaluation mechanisms to ensure accountability and transparency in the educational services. Right Honorable Speaker, the reality is that those that are meant to inspect schools, monitor and evaluate the functionality of these facilities are actually part of those that encourage whatever goes bad in there. Right Honorable Speaker, I will talk to my Minister of Health to please invest in healthcare infrastructure. Health remains a nightmare of a Ugandan because Sankara will work for 40 good years, and at age 65, when the heart diseases strike, Sankara will sell whatever he has worked for in the last 40 years to cater or cure what is actually going to be death of himself. Now, Right Honorable Speaker, can we allocate adequate funding of the procurement of essential drugs and medical supplies that guarantee the timely and uninterrupted provision of healthcare services? Why the hell are we still banning drugs? Right Honorable Speaker, that is not for you. It is for Honorable Diane Atwine, Doctor. Right Honorable Speaker, can we foster collaborations between the government, civil society organizations, the private entities to leverage resources, expertise, and innovative solutions? Right Honorable Speaker, innovative solutions for improving service delivery in education and health. Why the hell are we importing systems that we are sure can be developed by our own young people that have been educated here, and rather these young people are winning awards in Ghana, Kenya, and America? Right Honorable Speaker, can we invest in education and health as not just a matter of fulfilling our obligations, but as an investment in the future of our country? By prioritizing service delivery in these sectors, we can create an environment where our children receive a quality education, where healthcare is accessible to all, and where our communities thrive. Right Honorable Speaker, may we all unite our voices and actually advocate for the change that we are all talking about. Somebody said it starts with you. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Sankara, for the recommendations highlighted. Do we still have? Going to allow Honorable Mutishi. There is a member who is getting so hard on me. If I don't allow him, you will be the last person. Yes.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. All protocol observed. Once again, my name is Letitia Hilire, and today we gather to discuss a motion of utmost significance urging to prioritize service delivery in education
and health. Yeah, it is crucial. It is crucial that we recognize the
importance of these sectors in shaping the well-being of our nation. My first education, the importance of education that give it our students at the grassroots level, especially at the level, it is not amazing at all. I will talk from my own perspective. I don't want to mention a village, but surely the point of education these guys are receiving at the grassroots level, it is not good at all.
the
infrastructure,
infrastructure,
first of all,
is
is
not
not
appeasing
appeasing at all.
People
People
still
get
get education and
a
a
trade.
You can imagine the teachers, the shortage of teachers in the schools. So I recommend the government to invest in infrastructure and train more teachers so that they can deliver good information to the students. Then another thing is health. We all know that health is not just the absence of illness, but it is also a fundamental right of every individual. You have a fundamental right to health, to access quality medical facilities. But I can assure you that at the grassroots level, people don't access medical facilities. I'm going to talk from my own perspective. I saw a young woman. She's pregnant. Remember, reaching the medical facility, they are telling her to pay for medication. Yet this service was supposed to be free. You can imagine. Someone sleeps on an empty stomach, but reaching at the medical facility, they are asking her or him to pay for the medicine. So surely my recommendation would be to invest in healthy care, infrastructure, and medical facilities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We cannot have a service delivery where the policy formulators and the initiators are not beneficiaries. When you talk about the education died when the government allowed private schools. You cannot find a head teacher is the head teacher of a primary and all his kids are in Namiryango, and you expect that school to perform. You cannot expect to get good services from Mbarara Referral Hospital when the chief executive officer gets a problem, is transferred to Nakasero and Kenya. Then for you go there and you advocate for good services. For me, that is a lie. I want to assure you members that we can keep talking about this service delivery. Right, Honorable Madam Speaker, when I had a person saying that the government can do this, the income inequality we have in this country is saturating on every sector, that it is even separating levels of how you get money. That's why you go to Kampala, and when you reach Serena, a bottle of soda is 10,000, and at National Theatre is 1,000. They tell you where to go. That means that even in the schools, if you have money, your child will go to Ntare. If you don't have, you will bring that child to Hargwe and Kasari Secondary. And that's the reality, whether you want or not. So what we need is policy formulation that is challenging. On education again, I want to assure you that the moment you pay fees and you go to Makerere, you come here and spend 7 years or 10 without a job. Even what you have learned is nothing. That means that what we need, if the government can now provide an equivalent formulations that when you get out of the university, you get a job, then education becomes an investment. But now it is a liability. People get educated. When they fail to get jobs, it becomes a liability. And now you come and tell people that. I think on another point, we need to change on the curriculum. For me, I'm doing my small jobs, but I now ask myself, why did I study about Zwangendaba? What was the reason of me going in class and they told me that how many that a spider has 8 legs. Now how is it helping me now? So some things need to be changed, and they need to be changed with effective, because they are affecting the majority of us who are youth. For me, I'm sorry, colleagues, that's how I perceive things, and that's how I think. If my member of parliament can spend 2 months without eating any food from the constituents, and he eats from Serena, and you take him on from parliament to think, for me, it is a lie. Because he doesn't know which kind of food we eat. That is income inequality. His kids, let me tell you, it is very funny that even if you bring here most of our members of parliament, their kids don't know Runyankore. They know English and Uganda. And when they are on the floor of parliament, they are also talking on our behalf. On which behalf? So when they bring that, they change things, those people don't understand. For me, we need to change everything, so long as, if it is government, let all the schools be of government, such that my kid is seated with that one of Mwinempaka in the same class. Then when he goes to parliament, when he's tabling, he will understand that this policy will affect all of them. Let me end like this. Most of these people with money, their kids are in international schools. I can assure you, if we didn't learn during COVID, those kids kept on learning. They were not affected. Ours went home. We are not on the same planet. Let us not lie ourselves. Thank you very much.
We are not on the same planet. Seeing some are living on Mars. Thank you, Honorable Member. I now invite the mover to speak about this motion.
Thanks, Honorable Speaker, and thanks to all honorable members who have discussed on this motion. It is true of what all you have discussed, especially on informal education. It is true. The government has made milestones on both education and health. It is true. However, Madam Speaker, these are my prayers. Madam Speaker, I do pray that local governments should be conditioned to be conditioned on their local revenues to always allocate 15%, at least 10% of their local revenue to health. At least 10% of their local revenue to education. Madam Speaker, these local governments don't invest their own money in those two departments because it is not political. Political infrastructures, they are roads. They are other things. But on education and whatever, we always see it at the national. Madam Speaker, also my prayer at the national level, as the World Health Organization recommendation, I also do put an emphasis and a voice that 15% of our GDP should be allocated to health. Madam Speaker, still also my prayer is on the political will. Also, all the politicians should do their role of oversight and monitoring. Sometimes a school can be started and ends without any politician or head or political head stepping there. Then the school collapses, the whole spirit is not equipped, and we expect things to go on. Madam Speaker, as the community, also the community should also do their role. How can you go to the hospital, you bribe, even the health worker has not, professional I am, I have not asked you for money, you again give it to me. You're bribing me instead. Also the community should know its role, be sensitized and make a step
to the development. Madam Speaker, on innovation and technology, honorable members have discussed it. It is true. There is a Department of Innovation and Technology. However, it is not on the ground. It is on the paper. It is on the TV. It is in the media. Also, I advocate for the government to be equipped with the money, to have a hand on the ground to be supportive. Madam Speaker, on the health systems and education level, as per our policies of education and health system, at each parish level, we should have a health center too. But where you come from in your parish, do you have it? Think of it. At every parish level, there should be a primary school. Sub-county, secondary, if I remember. Then sub-county in health, it is health center 3. County, health center 4. County should be tertiary. So all those, do we have them? So Madam Speaker, I do advocate that also the government should embark on its policy. Now it's not international, it's the government policies. Madam Speaker, also my prayer is on recruitment. This financial year, there is no recruitment of technical staff. But now you can imagine the teacher to people ratio. You can, one of the schools I can think for, one of the schools you can find a P1 teacher teaching people's over 70 or and you expect that child to come out very well. So the people to teacher ratio is low. Still, a health worker to the sick patients, 1 to 10,000, if I remember, doctor. Madam Speaker, lastly, my prayer is on the curriculum. What you have discussed is very good. It is true. My prayer is at least the government should embark to have a practical curriculum to make education an asset, not a liability. Thanks. I beg to move.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The mover of the motion. I now put the motion to vote. Those in favor say aye, those who are not say nay. The ayes have it.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. The third motion on our order paper, the motion on effectiveness of youth representation through National Youth Council in Parliament, will be moved by Honorable
The Honorable Speaker, my fellow honorables, my name is Cynthia Nkahira. Allow me present a motion on effectiveness of youth representation through National Youth Council and youth representatives in Parliament. Here we want to see that we are all aware that youth are represented at all different levels, village level, parish, districts, and national, regionals by the regional MPs, and national by the National Youth Council, and we also have the National Female Youth MP representing the youths at the national level. And here we want to see the effectiveness of the youth representation through the National Youth Council and national representatives in Parliament. So, honorable members, Honorable Speaker, I beg the House to accept the motion to be discussed. Thank you.
Do we we have members seconding the motion?
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker, once again. For the sake of record, I am Sigiri Adonia, and now stand before this august house to second the motion that has been moved by one of our honorables, one Honorable Cynthia, concerning the motion on effectiveness of youth representation through National Youth Council and youth representatives in Parliament. Table it for discussion. Thank you so much.
Now the motion is open for discussion. Hold on. I apologize. We are supposed to have the mover speak about this.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable members, motion on effectiveness of youth representation through National Youth Council and national representatives in Parliament. Youth representation has emerged as an important political issue worldwide in sub-Saharan Africa. Uganda can be considered as a pioneer in catering for the presence of youth in political decision-making bodies. Honorable Speaker, yet while increased youth representation in democratic contexts is encouraged and applauded, policies aimed at youth inclusion and autocratic regimes are always criticized as serving the purpose of co-option and control. Honorable Speaker, Uganda has for decades been a world pioneer in providing formal structures that cater for the special interests and needs of the youth population. Honorable Speaker, there are reserved seats for the youth at all levels of government, including Parliament. There is a National Youth Council, and all political parties have a youth section. The comprehensive structure for the youth representation brings thousands of young people, of young citizens into politics from a young age. Still, these channels for youth participation and representation have remained hierarchical and infused with patronage. Honorable Speaker, the law establishing National Youth Council was enacted by Parliament in 1993 by the NRM government on the conviction that young people needed a body to promote unity among them and give them a platform for participation in national development. Honorable Speaker, the Council has legal and institutional frameworks. It is also mandated to organize young people to participate in and contribute to the national development project. The Council leadership starts from the village up to the national level, which implies that the elected youth leaders make binding decisions on behalf of the youth in the elected constituency. Honorable Speaker, while many youth representatives are likely to have benefited politically by participation in the structures, there are several factors that prevent youth agents as flow from these organizations, with youth saying that those elected to represent them tend to represent their own selfish interests, like positioning themselves for next positions once they leave the youth spaces. Honorable Speaker, after the reading of the financial year 2023-2024 national budget, it was noted that the budget for the National Youth Council has been cut by 80% from 4 billion to 800 million. This has prompted the public debate on the relevance of the National Youth Council and other youth structures. Honorable Speaker, I beg the House to discuss or talk about this motion on the effectiveness of youth representation through National Youth Council and national representatives in Parliament. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member.
Thank you,
Honorable Member. The mover of the motion.
The motion
is open for discussion. 5 members. You have
to say about this motion, raise your arm. Some arms are not clear. You're either scratching your ears, head, or you're raising your arm. There are already 5. Some hands are not clear. So I will start with there is a gentleman standing. The honorable member standing. Yes. 2 minutes. Two minutes.
Honorable members, I'm sorry for health issues. If I stand for so long, I know I move my shoes. But
according to this issue, yes, I'm a knight of right, and I'm here in support of this motion. And referring to the Article 32, the Ugandan Parliament, as amended in 2005, we
clause number 3 and 4. There shall be a commission called Equal Opportunities Commission, whose composition and functions shall be determined and by the Act of Parliament. And when you go to clause 4, the Equal Opportunities Commission shall be established within 1 year after the coming into force of the Constitution Amendment Act, that is 2005. So I hereby say that it is good to include the National Council for Higher Education, because why not? In the first place, these are the people who have their issues. Our youthful issues cannot be compatible with our members of parliament who are already in 40s. We have our independent issues. And since the speaker gave me 2 minutes, I would say that it is highly advised for us all to support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member, for utilizing your 2 minutes. The members who had raised your
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Smana Lupa, like I mentioned before, and Agugo Developer Community Lead. I'm in support of this motion, only with a few recommendations.
For us to know and understand the effectiveness of youth representation through NYC, then we have to be visible enough about what the National Youth Council does. You are not going to you're not going to convince youth out there that the National Youth
youth council is working for them, is putting their issues forward when they are really not seeing what they are doing. As youth here, as youth leaders, we really need to show what we are doing. We need to show the community that we are actually standing in for them and we know what we are going through. As a community lead in the tech space, I've seen a lot of innovations come to life. A few days ago, I was privileged to be in Tare as a keynote speaker where young students, high school students, had robotics innovations. But because youth leaders, us, me and you right here, have not represented them enough, all these innovations after their exhibitions, they have been trashed because we don't have youth leaders presenting presenting the challenges that are being faced by these youth. We had two hard deliveries here in Mbarara. We had Send Me, but all these innovations have been trashed because maybe we don't know what challenges these youths are going through. As leaders seated in this house, I urge each one of you here to try as much as you can. If you've reached the house, if you've seen the leaders, if you get a chance of communicating to them, then try as much as you can to present the issues that are being faced by the youth. It's with that that we shall know that the National Youth Council is effective. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Honorable Member.
There is
the Honorable Member. Where are you going? 2 minutes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Andrew Kavgumila, and I'm a youth leader. I want to support the motion
The effectiveness of youth representation through National Youth Council and youth representatives in Ugandan Parliament. To support the motion, I want to
assure you, honorable members in this house, that youth leaders actually knows all the challenges that are affecting the youth in our communities. But there is a challenge in the docket of youth, specifically at our lower local authorities, maybe starting from the district. I will not talk about the youth leaders in the parliament. When we talk about youth leaders, some of us may say we are just brought up in positions to, as someone said it, to position ourselves, but there is nothing like youth leaders. Those who come from our district, from Rampala, we have youth representatives were also born, but unfortunately, when we sit to discuss issues affecting the youth, you may be shocked. These are the people who actually knows nothing about the youth, like the government projects, meaning the government, or maybe they were left out when the projects, when the government is planning, they are not included in the early generations. Now, for example, we were talking about the parish development model, but how many youth leaders know actually what is going on? These people are not facilitated. These people are not aware of these government projects. So, what they do, they just want or they wish to supervise these projects, but again, they are not facilitated. So you find them in towns, you find them looking for greener pastures in Kampala or where they left their positions and leaving the government projects to suffer. We have the 30% youth, the category in the PDM, but do we actually get the chance? We are just there, but we are not included in these projects. Maybe my recommendation, I would say the government should maybe allow us to participate in the process of generating these ideas from the start up to the implementation strategy. That's when I think the issues affecting the youth will be captured and effectively put in plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Member, for that recommendation of us young people participating in the policy formulations. I'm going to allow her to return then. She will be followed by Honorable Venus, then later Honorable Andamia, then Honorable at the end, and
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Allow me first inform the House that you threatened me at first when you promised us in your manifesto that you're going to allow diversity in this House. I am sorry I've been fearing from there, but as a youth leader, I've managed to stand out again and represent the people I represent from Mitoma. Thank you so much, and the Youth Standing Board. When we talk about the effectiveness of youth representation at the National Youth Council and at Youth Parliament, I don't know what we really mean. Do we want people to go and represent, speak on behalf of us, and come back and help us or guide us in implementing what they will have spoken from the other side? It's unfortunate that even when the youth leaders are trying to live their lives and the public life, we still push them to the walls to work for us, even when us were not working. Honorable members, it's good that we have the Right Honorable Speaker, who is a female youth councillor of Mbarara City. If you'd ask her this time, she would tell you that she has never missed any council. She would even tell you that she has always represented the issues of the youth. But how many youth in Mbarara have always checked on her to see whether what they sent her to do are the ones she's doing? Who has ever helped her in drafting a strategic plan and showed it to her that at least you can use this document and represent our issues, or come back and we follow these issues to help the youth at the ground? Still on that point, how many of us have ever checked on these youth leaders, either at Parliament or in the municipal, in the city councils or at our district councils, to see whether they are actually representing us? Members, it's imperative on us that as we are complaining before the government, we should also look on ourselves. It's unfortunate that in the morning we are complaining about the government, now we are complaining that we ourselves are not representing ourselves. Surely, which one is which? Let's think and help each other to maneuver. Thank you so much.
Information allowed.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I would like to inform our current Speaker, Honorable, that it is the role of the leaders, our youth leaders, after or before they table any motion to their councils, they first call us so that we have our involvement in their tabled motions. Again, after tabling it, it is the role of those leaders to come back on ground, call us, and give us the way forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. Through you, allow me also inform the Honorable Member that if you call these youth leaders without Mugati, they will not even come. So if you're Mugati-minded, and this youth leader has nothing to offer in terms of finance, and they call you, start chopping them and tearing their clothes, surely what do you want them to do? Not until we change our mindsets that money does not do everything. It helps us to do some things. We'll keep quarreling and eating each other like grasshoppers in small bottles.
Thank you, Honorable Member.
Please follow that. And 2 minutes. Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. I would like to depart from the
previous speaker, Right Honorable Charity, and I will start with what we call social contract theory. When I give you the authority to represent me, I give you the authority to take what I want to public, or what the public wants, and when I give you that authority, it's still your mandate to come back to me and actually present what I want to, like why I gave you that power and authority to go and represent me. Thank you. Mine, I'll start from the accountability. I support the motion, and then I'll start with the accountability part of it. Because from what the Right Honorable Member Cynthia said, there was a budget cut from 4 billion to 800 million. I'm wondering, was the NYC making full accountability of the 4 billions? And apart from that, my thinking is that there is a saying, when you want to control someone, you cut off the source of finance. People who are financially stable are hard to control. And at this point, if they're trying to cut our budget as youth, I'm just wondering, is it a way of trying to control us? Because we are not that financially stable? And of course, we have to bow down before them. And, you know, I'm not against the government. I'm a beneficiary. I'm in youth politics. But then there is a lot of questions behind that cut, which should be addressed. And one of the recommendations that effective accountability when it comes to this, the budget, the money that is budgeted and that is given unto us. And more so, I'll have to add my voice to one of the previous speakers who actually mentioned on something to this National Youth Council making their works visible. I've been in youth politics, but it's so hard to find an event that is actually organized by the National Youth Council. I mean, the events are there, but people at the grassroots, like, are not aware of those events. I'm a leader in my parish. I'm from Chishasha Ward. I'm in youth politics, but it's hard, like, to meet someone from National Youth Council to come basically to find out what my people at the grassroots are facing. And as a youth, I think I have that role, and I think I have the knowledge about my people I'm living with, and actually the youth that I'm guiding. So if they organize a session, basically for us people who have knowledge at the grassroots, like, to utter out our grievances of what we want as youth to, like, what the things that we want the youth to do for us. And I think it will be for the best interest and for the best accountability for this National Youth Council, and I think it will also reduce on that budget cut. And as I'm concluding, we have our youth are not, there is no relevance in policy formulation and implementation. We are youth, and we have the highest percentage of the population. But when it comes to policy formulation and implementation, our decisions are not taken. And most of the time they describe youth as noisemakers. But then we have ideas, and we can actually, when we are involved in the implementation of the policies, I think we can do best. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I had already picked you. So when one member finishes, you go.
Thank you once again, Right Honorable Speaker. Now the question on budget cuts of NYC rotates around a number of things. Either the funder has seen no relevance of the body.
Secondly, the funder might have seen that if funded, you're going to cause chaos. And lastly, the funder sees and establishes the strength, the negative strength or the positive strength of the body, and so tries to cut you short of any progress. I will ask NYC now, with the previous
Fundings it has had from 4 billion. What structures does NYC have that if at any one point government does
not fund, it will fund its system? Secondly, to NYC, what is the impact created by NYC that in its absence, the country will realize that there is an organ missing? Now, if we still realize that there is no gap and we can actually not miss NYC, then the funder has grounds of cutting the budget. Right Honorable Speaker, the only last time NYC pushed to meet the president, the head of state, it was when the salaries and the payments had delayed. I am standing to be corrected. The salaries and allowances that had delayed for the committee members, how many are they? They are less than 30. But causes and calls that call for national threat, let's say increased and maybe dropouts of girls in this country, unemployment, many stressing matters, if they rise, they will not force to meet the head of state. Now, an entity that has pushed to meet the head of state on their own interest and fails to meet the head of state on such grounds, what does the funder has to do? As I stand to conclude, I still call and believe that if NYC came together as an entity or as an organization or as a council, they still have a lot to offer. Why? Because they have the largest follow-up, 78% of the youth. And so if they stood out to make a decision and make a statement, you can imagine what kind of statement it would. I just want to draw one example. When, as I conclude, when UNSA, Uganda National Students Association, took a statement on the expired courses, and this was a move and a statement both by the entire student fraternity, you realize the change and actually the positive change it created. So if NYC stood out and create a statement on any affair affecting the youth of what impact it would be, I am sure the funder has grounds of cutting the budget. I submit.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Member, who do you want to inform? Because the speaker has already left the floor. When the member has already left the floor. And still I'm not allowing you. There is another member. Yes.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker. Another chance of standing for this honorable. On the issue of reduction of the youth funds from 4 billion to 800 million, that's a reduction of almost 80%. It shows how irrelevant the Youth Council and the National Youth Council is to the government. I'm sorry if it sounds abusive, but it shows the irrelevancy of the National Youth Council
to the government. But while the government, Right Honorable Speaker, shows that we are irrelevant and considers us as noisemakers, it has to understand that the youth have two powers. The power to either build the nation or to perish the nation. Right Honorable Speaker, I beg that we take this matter serious. It means that if at all the youth lose hope and decide to consider this matter serious of reducing their budget by 80% to show the irrelevance of their speech and show that whatever they have been advocating for and doing has not made any sense, and therefore they are not meant to increase their budget, but instead reduce it by such a bigger percentage, then the nation would be into a very big crisis that cannot be even solved by the UPDF, Right Honorable Speaker. And therefore, my recommendation is that instead, on this level of the National Youth Council and the other bodies that represent the youth, the government needs to sit with these youth leaders and youth-led organizations and talk to them and know where they deserve help. Because this itself we are doing needs to be more funded, not only on a district level, not only on a regional level, actually not only on a regional level, but at a district level. All these youth need this information. While you're saying, there is a honorable member that said that money cannot solve everything. Right, Honorable Speaker, I would like to inform the House that after God, the next thing is money, then family and friends come next. Money solves everything. There is nothing you are going to do if you say that we don't need money. The only thing we have to do, Right Honorable Speaker, is to learn how we can effectively use the money to use it for its purpose, Right Honorable Speaker. I beg to submit. Thank you so much.
Now this is but I'm going to allow honorable member at the back. Yes, and the other one. Only 2 minutes, 2 minutes, please.
All right, Honorable Speaker, thank you so much for the opportunity again. All right, speak
about the issue of youth involvement, because I would like to want to say something about soldiers and heart personally. So, one, I think it's unfortunate that the National Youth Council is facing this episode having a budget cut.
But also, I think the questions that Honorable Adonia did raise somehow do matter to some great extent. Because you also need to understand, be aware that the National Youth Council in Uganda is so much, I think, happening in an environment which is so political, and we have to take in that reality. But one question which is very important to answer here is, does the NYC will have a big following, as we claim? For instance, when there was some sort of a mini strike around these budget cuts, how many people did even participate or even feel a concern? Because it so much appears that there is so much detachment from reality. NYC has become so much body of some bourgeoisies, and there's so many people here who do not necessarily relate to it. And I think this is a fact. And one of you here can testify to that. So two is that there's always been an answer. I think I've been in an environment where these leaders have asked me personally. So we're trying to advocate and say, we need youth perspective on this. And then they would ask me a question of, what's the difference between the youth perspective and the right perspective? So the idea is that there is nothing that so much matters just because we're youth. So the conversation does not go right simply because you've added more youth. So there was that angle, which I think we ought to consider. As I end, because I still don't have the time, is that I just want to note, just also for minutes, that the setback on NYC in Uganda is not just a setback on the NYC projects in Uganda, it's also a setback on the youth in general in the East African community. As the region, different countries are trying to have different national youth councils, and Uganda has had one of the best models. that has been the best progressive. We have issues in South Sudan, we have issues in Tanzania, where we don't have the union yet, the National Youth Council yet. And so when even one that people used to look at as the role model starts to crumble, it really so much spoils the spirit of further youth engagement, not just in Uganda, but within the region. That's the point I wanted to make personally. Thanks so much.
You have 1 minute.
Thank you very much, right, Madam Speaker. I'm using 1 minute. Now, to me, it is on you to pretend when you have 1,000 that you have 10,000. Benchmarking on presentation was done on people, and it was done according to women, people with disabilities, and youth. Now, when you look at the percentage of youth and percentage of elderly people, for example, they say one MP is representing elderly people in Western Uganda, and even with a percent like of 2. But we, with the percentage of 75, we are also represented by one person. For sure we are cheated. When you begin from council of LC3, you go to the district, we only have 2 people representing us. Surely we are cheated. Lastly, Madam Speaker, ever since I was a youth, I have never seen where this National Youth Council suggestions and whatever, where they end. So that is just a framework of making us feeling busy. Maybe those who are well connected, when they go there, they try themselves to become the RDCs, but that is useless to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. I call the move of the motion to make her prayers.
Thank you so much, Honorable Speaker and the honorable members, for your deep suggestions on the motion of effective of youth representation, national youth council, and national youth parliament. On this point, I also want to stress some points. It is true that the youth have been represented on different levels. It is also true that we have got some positions where some leaders are having selfish interests and maybe do not deliver. It is also true that that the youth need facilitations to hear their concerns be presented. And it is also becoming true that maybe the National Youth Council is irrelevant because of the budget cuts. But I also wanted to inform the House that this council was not in place before, and it was brought to Parliament with reasons, you get, and maybe because of some leadership structures that were there by that time, and maybe they thought about this and they knew it was going to be important, and I think it is important. And I also want to know the reason as to why now someone comes and is like it is irrelevant and they are cutting the budget to that extent, because an 80% cut, it is something that is too big, and it is really supposed to be brought it is really bringing the youth of the country on tension to be discussed. I think this is also because of the number of representation, like brother said. because we cannot be represented by only 3 people in parliament, or how many, 5 people in parliament, with a percentage of 80% and you expect some of our views to be respected and what. So I think we also need to have an increment on the representation of youth leaders maybe in parliament, youth representation in parliament, so that at least some of the views are listened to, and we also have feedbacks on why some of the things happen unknowingly and what not. Then another thing is, someone talked about the equal opportunities. Equal opportunities. I think we have equal opportunities as the youth, and someone also talked about the visible of the youth actions. Visibility of the youth actions are always there, but of course, according to the facilitations, like someone said, some things will not be easily seen, but some things will be done. Accountability and representation, honestly. So, honorable members, through you, the honorable speaker, I kindly request that the House accept this motion of effectiveness on youth representation through National Youth Council and youth representatives in Parliament to be a serious issue and to be taken note of. Thank you so much for listening in.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Honorable Member, the mover of the motion. I now put the motion on vote. Those in favor say aye, those who are not say nay. The ayes have it. Honorable members, I now hand over to the clerk for this session to briefly take us through what transpired in our discussion. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, and I believe it has been a very good deliberation. Today in our paper we had 3 motions. The first motion, the motion for resolution of Youth Parliament urging government to prioritize investment in climate change and youth in agriculture, which was moved by Honorable Edgar Mutundisa and seconded by Honorable Letitia Hidire. The House agreed that climate injustice is indeed also human injustice. And Right Honorable Speaker, the House believes that this motion is a call to action. The House also identifies that access to finance is a critical factor, and honorable members urged the government to at least offer a 2-year tax holiday for startups in agriculture instead of actually focusing on the international investors. The House asked the government to have a structural reform to allow young people to participate in the whole value chain. The House also asked the government to consider consistent and routine monitoring of all the government programs for sustainability of some of these programs. A second motion, a motion of the Western Youth Parliament urging government to prioritize service delivery with an emphasis on education and health, which was moved by Honorable Kavi John and seconded by Honorable Atweta Abdul. The House emphasized that education is both formal and informal. Therefore, young people in the informal sector who are also innovative enough should also be supported by the government. The House noted that there is a crisis when it comes to medical interns, and they should be given priority. When talking about service delivery, medical interns are a priority, not a luxury. Honorable Speaker,
The House emphasized that there should be strengthening of decentralization policy on the grassroots in order to achieve better service delivery. The honorable members asked the government to focus on increasing resources for learning materials. The House believes that health and education are still a nightmare in Uganda, and there should be need to procure enough drugs and also to come up with innovative solutions for both education and health sectors, besides importing curriculums from foreign countries. The third motion now order paper, which was a motion on effectiveness of youth representation through National Youth Council and Uganda Parliament. The House asks for proper accountability of the NYC fund for the bid cut in the current financial year. I want to put to record that the three motions have been passed by the House. Thank you. The clerked Parliament. We've come to the end of this session, but I want to take this opportunity to appreciate each and every honorable member for your contributions that you put across. It's been a meaningful and effective debate, and I'm hopeful that your recommendations that you've come up with on each and every motion that was presented and discussed will be implemented with all our collective efforts. This is not our one person's job or responsibility, but we as young people of this nation, we as young people of Ankole and Kigezi region, we are all responsible for the challenges. And I call upon you that we work as a team, we fully represent our people that we've represented today effectively. I now suspend the House. House is adjourned at any time. I don't think the national
guys. Honorable members, we need 15 minutes of your time before we go for lunch. Kindly, 15 minutes of your time before we go for lunch. There is something here to help us appreciate and understand the policy-making processes at the local government level. Hello? Hello? Do I have attention or we already done? In the next 15 minutes we should be done. It is very important for us because us as young people, we need to understand these processes such that we are able to influence policy, one, during the budget making process, where it is very important for us to make our input. I am aware you know about the budget conferences that happen in every district. Don't we know them? So are we able to participate? So this is what we are bringing to such that you can be able to understand how we can be able to influence policy at the local government level. Some of us have done policy influencing at the national level, but it is also important that for us, for the young people that we work with, they're able to understand some of these processes at the local or grassroots level. Thank you.
Well, thank you so very much. The moderator tonight. I'll start with the introduction. My name is Dennis Mranges, the other day commonly known as Baba in the political world. I hail from very far from here, that is Kazo district. That's my home. I want you to be like changes what he said. Take Korimeram town. I will beg you allow me to Korimeram town because I've been here. Well, I've been into this youth and student leadership, and I think now I've entered even more than youth leadership for quite some time. I started my journey from Bishop Stewart University as a guild president, 2017-18. And from there, I proceeded to Uganda National Student Association as a NEC member, National Executive Committee, as a Secretary for National Affairs. That was 2019, and then half of 2020. And then from there, I had to come back to ground. I was appointed a district coordinator for UNSA, a position I still hold, even up to now. And amidst, of course, because of the passion of leadership, I chose not to retard in any way and proceeded or continued. I contested for district youth councillorship, and that's a position I hold in the district council of Kazo district youth councillor. I don't stop there. Still in the same council, I serve as a chairperson of a committee of social services that is responsible for health, schools, and community. And not only that, he's reminding me I forget some things. I was a fellow at Building Tomorrow Uganda. That is where I left, coming to youth leadership as a district youth councillor. And I think less than 5 days ago, I was appointed a political assistant of our area member of parliament, that's Honorable Chimosho Dan, who is the chairperson for infrastructure, the committee of parliament. So that is what I do, and professionally I am a teacher and an advocate for, a lot. So that is what I do, but greatly above all that, I am still a youth. I am 28 years of age, proud of my age anyway, so surely yes. Tonight, when I was contacted to come and talk about local governments, I couldn't forgo the opportunity because I want to change my name of recent to be Lokoro. You understand? Because at least I've gotten myself into local leadership, into local structures, and I feel, or I think, or I guess, I do really understand or have all the information or all that you need on the fingertips. Before any further ado, I wish I had more time. I would make the session more interactive, but because of time, I think I will have it in bits, and so fast a little bit. One, at the local government level, when we talk of local government, we talk of district, we talk of cities, we talk of sub-counties, we talk of municipalities, we talk of parishes, and then LCs, they also come in there, the LC1s. I guess all of us do come from a certain LC1, isn't it? Even those in the city, the so-called city bonds and whatever, you have LC1s, don't you? You all come from parishes. LC1s make parishes. I guess people know this information. But if they didn't, they should know. LC1s make parishes. Parishes make sub-counties and then municipalities. When we come to towns, we have wards. Now wards are parishes. They are at the same level. A ward and a parish, they are at the same level. Then from wards, we go to municipalities, that is if it is a city, and then to a city. Then if it's a district, from a parish, directly we go to a sub-county. Then from a sub-county, we go to a district. So that is a little bit of the structure of local governments. Now, the operations of these local governments, they are governed by policy documents or laws. Can anyone tell me anyone that they know? What you think local governments do follow? Laws or policies or whatever. I've had the local council leaders here. Yes, my brother. Bylaws. Okay, that's a little bit general. I wanted documents which are specific and good. We have the Local Governments Act. That's Cap 243, I think, of the Parliament. What else? So you need to note that for those that didn't know. Yes, Honorable. The Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, 1995, was amended several times. We have that. Of course, you know, all these other sub-laws, they have their mother law, and that's the Constitution. So obviously, it does help in governance, so in policies and whatever, at the local government level. The other one, yes? We have acts. Okay, so you see when we talk of the Constitution, we talk of acts also. The acts of Parliament, there are several of them. Of course, they do affect us up the ground level. And then we have what we call the rules of procedure of local government. I think I came with a few of them. This is the Local Governments Act. For those that don't know it, this is how it looks like. This is the book. I think it's available. You can access it at your various councils. These are the rules of procedure. This is the book of the rules of procedure. These are new ones as amended. We have the old ones, but there are these ones here. I have a copy also here. Well, so you can take me to the, good. So I have a slide on the guiding documents. I have the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, the Local Governments Act, the Standing Rules of Procedure, and then other acts of Parliament. Somebody talked of the Land Act, somebody talked of the Public Service Act, and very many others, to mention but a few. So all those ones, they do guide leadership or policy formulation at a local government level. Local governments are structured into, we have two major structures. The major ones are, one, it is the technical team, the technical people. You studied your books. And they are headed by, do we know who heads the technical team at the district level? Good. By the cow, right? Good thing I'm dealing with elites. Headed by the cow. And then from cow, what do you think follows after cow? We have heads of department. Good. So from cow, we have, or the chief administrative officer. We used to call them DCs during our time. Were you there? But DC, so those are the cows. Then after the cows, we have heads of departments. Can anyone tell me a department they know at a district level? Production, good, headed by the district productions officer, the DPO, right? Which other department? The health department, headed by the DHO, right? We call them district health officers. Which other department? Yes? Education department. Yeah, you're passionate about education. Headed by The DEO, right? The District Education Officer. Which other department? Those are 3. And I'm going to ask questions. I told you I'm a teacher before starting. Don't forget. So for those who are not paying attention, I am telling you, get embarrassed. The 4th department, yes. Community, headed by? Good. The DCDO, the District Community Development Officer. And then under community, we have other officers, okay? Probation, labor, that's where youth desk is, all right? Yeah, so which other department as we proceed? Yes? Environment, headed by the District Environment Officer, right? We proceed. Which other one? Works Department, headed by the District Engineer, right? My brother talked of Agriculture Department. That is under production. It's a sub-department under a major department, which is production. Which other department? To mention but a few. Good. So from heads of department, I've pointed out a few. Like you can see in Roman 2, we have the heads of department, production, education, community, finance. Headed by, we have the Department of Finance, fully fledged. CFO, right? Chief Finance Officer. And under that, that's where we find the district internal auditors, and to mention but a few, accountants of various sectors, and many, to mention but a few. And then we have departmental members. When I talk of departmental members, like we said, under education as a department, we have inspectors, we have other education officers, say, one in charge of guidance and counseling, one in charge of sports, to mention but a few. And other departments, they have members under those departments. Then from departments, Roman 4, it takes us to committees. Now, at a district level, we have committees. I've pointed out examples of contracts committee. We have NGOs committees. We have security committees. If I may pick interest in security committee, does someone know, has someone heard about it? Do you know that we have a security committee at a district level? Who can tell me the composition? A few members that you know. Who sit at the security committee? Yes. RDC. Who happens to be the chair at the same time? The chairman, LC5. The DSO, all right? The DPC, to mention but a few. So those are the key members of the security committee. And then we have the contracts committee, we have the NGOs committee. Now, most of you are not certain about, you don't know the process of registering, for example, associations, CBOs, you understand? So all these ones at a district level, they are approved under the NGOs committee. It sits and then it approves. Some of you hand in all your necessary information regarding your associations. You have the constitutions, you have everything, you've paid whatever you've paid for, and then they tell you your certificate is delaying simply because the district NGOs committee hasn't yet sat to approve the NGOs and maybe forward them for certification. That is, so you need to pick interest in these committees. Then from committees, Roman 5, I have boards and commissions. Now these ones are very important. Boards and commissions, I've pointed out examples. I have the Land Board, I have the District Service Commission, I have the PAC. PAC, that is Public Accounts Committee. The Land Board, for example, it has its roles and responsibilities. That is why I said maybe time was a little bit limited because we needed to dig deep into, for example, what these boards do. But the Land Board, necessarily, you have processed the byapa. Now, before you finish up that process, the Land Board must approve you to get that chapa. And a lot more other things. The District Service Commission, you know what it does? Or some people don't know and they are looking for jobs. The District Service Commission, its main purpose, it is to recruit government workers on behalf of government. That is what it does. It advertises, it interviews, and appoints workers. Then it leaves it up to CAO to do the whatever. But then when it comes to indiscipline and whatever, it again comes in to revoke the appointment. It has both the powers to appoint and disappoint at the same time, given reasons. And then the PAC, That is specifically for the Public Accounts Committee. These ones here are supposed to oversee the funds and the finances at a local government level, and then they present reports to the chairperson, LC5. Now, all these, what is special about these boards and commissions, or what you need to know, it is your chairperson, LC5, or your mayor that does appoint members to sit on these boards and commissions. So can you imagine if you voted an LC5 that is tabula rasa? And what happens in most cases, the appointees are the close associates. Okay? The close associates of the chairperson LC5. So that means if you vote an incompetent leader, at the end of the day, you're going to get incompetent commission and board chairpersons and members, and everything will go berserk. That is why you see when they are making assessments, some districts are in first and second positions, others are in 100 positions. Ask yourself, where is your district? But for us, we have reasons. We say we are new. You see, we are new and we don't maybe have substantive heads of departments and stuff like that. But what about yours? In which position was it? So this goes back to you. You have to account. You as a key stakeholder in this. Then from boards and commissions, we go to local government officers. That is now we come to sub-counties, we come to parishes. I pointed out chiefs. You know, we have what we call, some of you have known that you had parish chiefs after PDM coming. You didn't know parish chiefs existed. So we have chiefs at a sub-county level. We have sub-county chiefs. They have an office at the sub-county. We have parish chiefs. We have CDOs, community development officers, who report to the DCDO at the district. We have all those ones at a local government level. So that is part A of what makes a local government. And now, this takes me to part B, which you love most and which most of you are participants. And that is the leadership now, the political wing or the political team. And these two are intertwined. The three actually, I am going to bring in also parastatals. I don't think I mentioned them. But B, we go to the technical wing, to the political wing. Political wing, that is where most of you have interest. I see you speak with vigor. I see you criticize leaders. I see you do whatever. I see you do whatever. But I am here to open your eyes of what happens, what their responsibility is, so that as you criticize, you know the role. Or if given an opportunity, you need to know what you are going to do at that level. So the political wing is structured, as you can see on the presentation on the wall, headed by the chairperson LC5. So he's the boss, he's the president of the district. From the chairperson LC5, we go to the executive. Now you see, I will mention it again. The chairperson LC5 has a very big say on who is appointed as an executive member. The Local Governments Act stipulates it very clearly. There shall be members of the executive given the sectors available or deemed fit by the chairperson LC5. He appoints what we call secretaries, or you can refer to them as ministers, but the act refers to them as secretaries. For example, my district, we have approximately, there are 5, I think. We have the secretary for finance, we have the secretary for production, we have the secretary for social services, we have one for community. And then we have one for works. Works, that is where roads are, and boreholes, and everything that regards construction of buildings and stuff like that. Social services, that is health, hospitals, and education. So specifically, that is under social services, and then education and health. And then community, here we have community. All these other programs, actually, the youth, we do fall under the community department because it is responsible for government programs that come, which benefit the youth. The programs, you know, YLP, you've heard of Youth Library Program? Under there, which other program have you heard of? Emioga, right? That is under that. Which other program? PDM. Though some of them cross-cut and go to production. For example, PDM goes to production a little bit, okay? And then you WEP for women, where you can also benefit. By the way, you are a woman. Did you know, Honorable Janina, that you're a woman? Or some of you think being a youth, it deters you from being a woman at the same time. So you WEP is for all of us. I be wondering upon my youth, especially females. They only want to come for YLP and then these other ones. They forget that UWEP is a program that's there. If you had a group and your women, regardless of the age, because it has no age limit, either lower or upper limits, it doesn't. So you also qualify for that program. And very many others to mention, but a few. Then from executive members, we go to the district council. Now the district council is special in a way that it is the strongest body or policy formulation. If a district council decides, then the executive has no say to revoke the decision of the district council. Maybe if it goes to parliament and it's revoked. That is where, but at the district level, the district council is at the helm of policy formulation, that is one, of policy implementation, that is two, and of decision making. So the district council is very important. Why? Because it encompasses all these other ones that I've mentioned above. The chairperson of LC5 is a member of the district council. The CAO must sit there, and his heads of department must. Actually, on the day of council, a CAO cannot fix any other program. He must be there to give technical guidance, because we come as representatives, and now it is their role to maybe arrest our fears or to explain to us how processes are done or explain what is to be done. So the district council comes in, and of course, that is where we now have councillors that represent. You have a question? Yes. Exactly. They are also members of council. The chairperson appoints, but in most cases, when the chairperson appoints, it's rare for a council to disapprove, in most cases. So they also sit there. Now, this is where we have councillors, directly elected, then our agenda, those are women, and then special interest groups. That is where we youth come in. We also have workers. We also have elderly. We also have PWDs. Those are the SIGs, or the special interest group, councillors that also do sit there. And then the special appointees. But the chairperson appoints the special appointees from councillors already. He doesn't get people from out. So then from there, we go to sectoral committees. Now, sectoral committees, you need to understand how these sectoral committees work. Sectoral committees, each councillor is supposed to be a member of a certain sectoral committee. For example, in my district council, we have a committee of social services. Now, committees should be equal to the number of secretaries. So we have social services as a committee. Here we handle health, education, and community. They are all under social services. Then from social services, we have works. Works, this is where we have constructions, both of buildings and roads, and the district machinery, the tractors that you see at the district, they are under the committee of works. And then from the committee of works, we have production. Production, this is where we have anything that concerns, should I again use the word production? Maybe we can talk of environment, the forests and the lands, and then you can talk of these other programs that do with production. You've heard of the other irrigation scheme that is actually coming on board. Some districts have implemented it. We are taking it up. Those in the first phase, like Uganda and other districts, have already rolled out. Different farmers, various farmers, are using this technology of irrigation. That's under production. And then finance. Finance, this is where we have accountabilities, we have anything that does concern finance. Those are under sectoral committees. So sectoral committees sit. When sectoral committees sit, issues are tabled. And then when issues are tabled, they are discussed by sectoral committee members. When they are discussed, resolutions are noted. And then it is the reports of the committee of council that are read before council. You get? So some of you miss a point. You wait on the council day to come and bring your issue. No, the Right Honorable Speaker is not going to allow you to include that issue on the business paper. Why? Because the business paper is discussed. Before we go to council, we have what we call a business committee. Now that business committee is comprised of the speaker to the council, the vice chairperson, because she's the leader of business at a district council level, and then the chairpersons of the sectoral committee. Are we together? Then we sit in a business committee and come up with what we call a business, an order paper. Now this order paper is the one that is tabled or read by the speaker before council. Now under that order paper we have committee reports. So if I bring an issue concerning education from my committee, members can, it is me to bring it, to table it as the chairperson. And then honorable members discuss what I have brought. So if your councillor brings an issue on the council day, if it isn't through the sectional committee, it is so hard for them to forward it. So that is why it is very paramount for you to know where we start. So what we need to do, if, for example, you're a certain member of a certain sub-county, you have an issue, say in education or any other sector, look for your honorable councillor. Ask them when their committee sittings are. They go and table your issue, and then it is brought before the floor of council of the district. About the budget. That is aside. Now the budget, of course, like I have informed, okay, we have a finance department. Now this finance department, what happens with the budget? It is still so unfortunate. I will mention this before I explain how the budget processes at the local government level are run. The budgets of the local governments are predetermined. They are determined from the central budget. It is the central budget that does decide. They sit and decide, for example, my district, this financial year we budgeted for 22 point something billions. You get? It just comes as a block. And it is still so unfortunate that most of these, the biggest percentage of this budget, it is conditional. Conditional in a way that we have wages, you can't discuss wages. I am coming to that. Yeah, they do. Okay, minus the committee of finance, we have the budget committee. It is set aside. But the committee of finance also has the responsibility to discuss the budget, to know how much we are to spend or how much has been allocated to our district, and then we plan to eat accordingly. It is the central government that decides and says we are going to construct only 3 seed schools. Now, our role as the local government leaders, after the central government has decided, our role is to allocate and see where do we put these seed schools. In which sub-county do we allocate a seed school? In which sub-county do we allocate a health center? Whatever that is given. In which, so that is our role, is to allocate. We haven't yet gotten the mandate to determine the figures. To say according to our expenditure and the needs of our people, we need this much. That has not yet happened. So that is what happens. Okay, so from the political, from the committees, of course we go to local governments, to local leadership. We have chairperson LC3s, you have mayors at a municipality level, we have chairpersons LC2s and LC3 councillors, to mention but a few. Now from there we have other service providers. Under these other service providers, I've pointed out government parastatals. Now, in areas where you don't have umeme, for example, umeme, UEDCL, these are government parastatals. In other words, they offer service on behalf of government, but somehow, somewhere, they are, so we say that they are semi-autonomous. For example, the employees of UEDCL in a given district are not paid by the district. They are paid directly by UEDCL itself. They have their accountants and whatever that are responsible for the payments. Then National Water and Sewerage Corporation, we have UNRA, we have UMEME. So these ones are a little bit semi-autonomous. They operate autonomously a little bit. Though our role as leaders and technical team in the district, it is to monitor and maybe give reports and maybe advocate where possible. If electricity is not stable in your area, your role now as a citizen, it is to move to UEDCL and say, yes, we know you are responsible for providing electricity service to us. So why is it not stable? So that is where the advocacy bit comes in from. And then from that, we have the private service providers, we have banks, we have NGOs, many that do exist in your districts, which you know. Those ones are also semi-autonomous. They operate on their own. However, our role as stakeholders, both leaders and technical people, is to monitor their operations. Now, from there, so you need to understand that is a bit or more about local government. Those are the three structures that I can mention. We had one was the political wing, two, we had the technical, and then we have these other service providers. Now from there, I pointed out a few responsibilities, and because of time, I'm just going to read them verbatim. You can proceed to the next slide. The key roles of the bodies mentioned above. I pointed out the technical team. Role number one, it is to implement implementation of the district work plan, account for all government funds and resources, implement government programs on behalf of the central government, say contracts, recruitment of workers, payment of salaries and wages, monitoring and supervision of the works that do take place. Then I also pointed out the key responsibilities or roles of the political team. It is to represent people from their respect. At a local government level, instead of having laws and bills, we have ordinances. Monitor and supervise government works, task the technical team to account for the district resources, allocate the available resources, lobby and advocate for their people. We can proceed to the next slide, where we have, next slide. Can we have the next slide? Okay, so here we are, I pointed out what we need to do as key stakeholders. Here I'm looking at you as youth, as someone that has attended this session. What do you need to do when you go back? Number one, you need to participate in leadership at the local government level, given any opportunity. This can be both directly or indirectly. Indirectly is, now you need to be keen of the leaders that you send to represent you. Now, that is indirectly. If at all you're not to participate as a direct participant. Directly, you need to involve yourselves. You go and be the chairpersons, go and be the councillors, be the real actors or the direct actors. Number two, know where to go, when and how. I've shared the departments and their responsibilities. Don't go to the Department of Health looking for roads. You're misplaced. The DHO does not know anything regarding roads. Know where to go, when and how. Guide your local council leaders on issues pertaining advocacy. Sometimes, I've said, truth be told, some don't know where to go, what to do, and how to do it. It's so unfortunate that some of your local leaders, your councillors, didn't even finish. You are seeing them in news, struggling to even swear in, reading the oath. So you can imagine if you expect them to advocate for good service in your district. It is a menace. So your role is to go and help them, or you go and encourage them or guide them because you have the knowledge. Number two, utilize all government programs decentralized to your respective local governments. I have shared the programs, you have had them on radio, you've read them in news and everything. So go and utilize them. If a program comes, dig deeper, know how it comes, how it goes, how it operates, for your good as an active citizen. So I think I'm not going to proceed from there. Maybe as I conclude, instead of pointing fingers at your local government leaders, first of all, ask yourself, that local leader of yours, that councillor that you voted, that you participated in the voting, what do they know? Do they have the knowledge? Before you blame them, because it is something ridiculous if you find yourself blaming someone who doesn't have the knowledge. It is so unfortunate. Okay? So the blames or the failures of our communities, they all start with us. With that much said, I want to wish you the best. And I guess someone has picked something. Unfortunately, because of hunger and time, I will not entertain questions. I will end there and wish you a beautiful lunch. And Johnny Masses as you go back. Dennis Tumramye Obama is my name. I cherish you so much. All the best. Sharing the slides, I think it is okay. You can get in touch with the team. They can share. It's fine. Carry. Does someone want to thank me?